Welcome to the PrepZone Show. I'm Johnathan Bentley, and my co-host, Zach McCullar, presented by Bevill State, by the way. We got to mention Bevill State
for all the wonderful work they do.
Thank you for sponsoring the show. All right, so we're going to jump straight into this. The one game that actually mattered last week. Right. No, I'm kidding. It was actually maybe two.
Yeah, every game mattered last week.
Yeah, that's right. To someone, somebody cared about these games.
Every one of them.
Even some of these that were not close.
Like somebody scored maybe 70-plus points.
In the first half.
And they didn't even have Tua at quarterback.
No. Wow, that was incredible. All right, so let's jump to the game I went to since it was the best game. It was Corner beat Dora 21-14, even though you picked the right team and I picked the wrong team. I just will ride with Dora. Yeah. You know? No matter what.
They've got a lot of talent, great coaching. So, they're right now 2-loss. They're 3-2, aren't they?
Just like last year at this time. And they caught fire.
They did?
Well, actually, they were 2-3 at this time last year. Then they caught fire. So maybe, hopefully, they have an off week this week. Hopefully they do it again. But did that surprise you at all? I guess not, since you picked Corner.
No, it didn't surprise me. The fact that it was so low scoring maybe was a little surprising because I thought Dora was going to put up more than 14. I was thinking, something like 35-30 or 35-28 or something like that. Both defenses played pretty well, but in the end, Corner came out on top. Just, they have a lot of talent. And when you're looking at the roster, you're thinking, well, does Dora outmatch them in terms of talent? Some would say yes, but apparently Corner does not think so.
Yeah, I mean, they lose their all-state running back, and it's just you can't tell.
Yeah, they don't miss a beat.
And they're completely different offense. Mm-hmm. The new coach, it's just been a great story over there. They got ranked the first time since 1996. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm not even going to ask how old you were in 1996.
Old enough. I have memories from 1996. But for Dora, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's been a disappointing first 5 games. You had the big win against Aniana, which, when you look, and if they'd have lost that, they're in the same boat they were last year, like you mentioned, 2-3, which would seem unspeakable for the hype that they were getting. But maybe history repeats themselves. Maybe they do go on that long run you were mentioning about.
They have the talent to do it.
They do.
But I was really impressed with Corner. It was 6-0 at halftime. They come out 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, and that's it.
Right.
And Brendan Connor had a great game, and they just turned it around. The defense, I thought Dora they have some guys playing both ways. I don't know if that had an effect down the stretch. But Dora just couldn't get anything going on offense. It was more of an offensive problem than the defense. But Corner is now, what do you think about Corner now going forward?
I think they're the best team in our area. I really do, I think. And we're going to get into that later. But Corner, last year, they started off really hot like this, and they sputtered down the stretch. I think that I don't think they're going to go undefeated, but I do think that they're going to have a better record this year than last year.
Yeah, they were 5-0 last year. Then they ran into Northside and had trouble with Haleyville. I think it's going to be payback time this year. They're really legit. All right, so Cordova finally got a win.
Yeah, Cordova was able to beat Hamilton, who's really struggling, but good for Cordova, winning 42-28.
Yeah, they needed that.
They have left the group of winless teams we still have in our area. Congratulations to Cordova getting that first win.
Yes, nice to have one out of that group.
And we may have another team joining them this week.
I think we will. All right, so some other games. The game you were at, Oakman 42, Carbon Hill 0.
Yeah, Oakman just too good, too much talent. Carbon Hill was simply outmanned and outmatched. They were able to string together a little bit of offense, Carbon Hill was, but it was just never enough. Oakman has such good players, Rick Johnson and Tyler Thomas and Caden Aaron. I could go on and on and on. Case and Dickerson. Really a good ball club.
It's good to see Oakman good again. And thank goodness for Oakman.
Oh, yeah. Really? Last year, 3-8.
Yeah, they're up to 4. So I think they got maybe halfway home. Some other games. Another game I went to, let's go Oak Grove, Curry, 62-0.
Yeah, that's
tough.
Oak Grove is a really good football team this year.
They've somehow turned the page over there, and they're actually good.
Curry will have to do that in the near future.
Yes, hopefully. Winona, I went there on Thursday. Winona Jasper 33-0. It was worse than that.
Yeah, Winona's a really talented team. Jasper was also outmatched.
They didn't play well either. It was rough game. You mentioned kind of this one, Meek 72, Phillips 16. It was 72-8 at halftime. Have you ever heard of something like that?
It seems like something you get back in college football in the 1910s or the 1920s, back when there were no rules whatsoever. You could score 100 points in the first half and win 222-0.
I mean, that's 10 touchdowns I think they had in the first half. Just incredible.
Wow.
And, I mean, they could have easily got 100.
They could have, and, Phillips was able to outscore them in the second half. So Phillips, Bear Creek won the second half.
Yes. Look for some positives there.
Yeah, and Meek will have to.
All right.
How do you improve
I
off
don't
of
know.
a 72?
You can't.
Something?
That was the school record for points, and they set it in a half.
Yeah, and
It's incredible.
I think Meek's got this week off, which is really good because it's going to be almost impossible to follow up that performance. So
Yeah,
maybe
a whole week to dwell on
maybe
this.
we can kind of they can kind of go back down to the humbler teams that usually prevail.
And I think a week off for Addison. Yeah. All right, so Lynn, Holy Spirit, 47-0, another one of those.
Yeah.
That region has a lot of those. Well, actually, Addison beat Waterloo. It's actually a little bit closer than I thought. I'm sure they called the Dogs off early.
Oh, yeah.
51-20.
Yeah, no pun intended, calling the
Yes,
Dogs
they're all
off.
the Bulldogs.
Yeah, 51-20. Waterloo at least scored. So maybe
When I went to
Addison.
the Waterloo meet game, they had yet to score, and I saw them get their first touchdown. They had an interception return.
I think it's really their offense playing on county teams. A really good luck charm. It's the only time they can score.
Yeah, you're right. Too bad they don't play Lynn. Maybe they get another touchdown. Winston County beat Greene County. That was a Thursday game. I think it was actually 43-16.
Yeah, and that I thought it was going to be a good game, close. I expected Winston County to win, but putting up large numbers like this, winning by 4 touchdowns, really impressive performance for the Yellow Jackets.
They're having a good year. I really hate they couldn't beat Sullivan.
Yeah. Then again,
And the last game. Oh, go ahead.
it's pretty hard to beat Sullivan.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, the Sullivan.
This year is
Sullivan and Oak Grove, teams that you just wouldn't expect.
When Oakman lost that opener to Sullivan, I was like,
oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, they're going to win 3 games again. And no, Sullivan's actually good. Yeah, they're still undefeated. And the last game, Brilliant at Summoning Christian, 45-6.
Yeah, Summoning Christian
They
did score for the
That's their
first time this
touchdown, yeah.
season. So Summoning Christian has another opponent that has not got a win this week. So maybe Summoning Christian can put up 2 touchdowns, and against Talladega County Central this week, that could be enough to win.
It might. Yes. If I've looked at their schedule, they actually have a chance here. All right, so all right, we're almost. It's hard to believe. Like a lot of these teams are halfway through.
Yeah, we've got teams with their
Cordova's
five
halfway
games.
through.
Yeah, we've got
Dora.
1-4s, 4-1s, 3-2s, 2s and 3s.
Meek is halfway through. Addison.
Where's the season gone?
Yeah, no, it'll be over before you know it. I hate that. It'll be basketball season.
Yeah, basketball in the county. It's not bad. County tournament's always really entertaining, but we love football around here.
I grew up at a basketball school, so we didn't care about football. we were bad, just kind of like below average, 3 or 4 wins a year. All right, so we are talking about halfway through. Do we know who's going to make the playoffs yet?
I think we've got a good idea. I really think that there's just one team in kind of a gray area. If Cordova can put together a run, they could possibly put themselves slightly into contention, but I see that as highly unlikely. Everybody else, I say, is basically a lock.
So we will say Corner, Dora, Lynn, Meek, Addison. Is that everybody?
Yeah, Winston County and
of
Oakland.
course. Yeah.
Winston County will make it as well.
I was thinking the same thing, though, about Cordova. It's right in front of them.
Yeah,
You've already played some hard teams in the region.
Now you've kind of got the softer side coming up. Maybe
You're going to have to beat
them.
them. Yeah, I mean, Northside's kind of down this year. Maybe they could win out. Oak Grove's going to be tough, apparently.
Cordova is in a desperation. You have to pretty much win every region game for the rest of the season.
You're going to need 4 region wins, probably. It's going to be tough.
It will.
But it is in front of them.
They have a chance.
They can still do it. All right, so let's talk about this week's games. Not a great slate, I would say.
No,
they have 8 games, and they're just kind of interesting, some of them.
There may be some of them that turn out to be really good games, but not the kind of good that you want.
No, exactly. I mean, let's go over some of these real fast. Sidney Lanier at Jasper. Had you ever heard of that school before this year?
I had, but
Really?
I mean, their nickname is the Poets.
You don't see many football teams called the Poets.
No.
I'm guessing that's the only one.
Yeah, I reckon Sidney Lanier. I'm not a history major, so whoever Sidney Lanier was back in history, probably a poet.
It must have been.
I have to study up. But yeah, Poets and Vikings. Never thought I'd say that.
No.
I think Sidney Lanier's going to win that game, though.
I do too. Jasper, they're going to have to win a game. They're really young and just a lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties. They actually had a touchdown last week and it was called back.
This game was actually, wasn't it, thrown together at the last minute before the season?
When the season started, I think at our when media days, when the radio station had media days, they had not set this up yet, so it was very recent. They were just trying to get game 10, and now probably it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you
want to play 10.
That's true. Even if you lose, I mean, it's not a region game, so I mean, if Jasper were in contention for a playoff spot, this wouldn't really matter. So
right. Now this team has beaten they've beaten a 7A and a 6A. They play Pike Road. I mean, so it's down there in Montgomery area.
Pike Road's a 6A now.
Yeah, that's.
I remember in 2019, Carbon Hill had made their first playoff in 20 years. Everyone was excited. They got Pike Road, who was a 3A team at that time.
3A, and they've already doubled.
In the next season, Pike Road went up to 5A.
So they jumped a whole classification.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Well,
you got a team making their first playoff in 20 years, and they get basically a 5A team in Montgomery that had Quinshawn Judkins on the bench.
Wow. Yeah, what does that tell you? Oh, my gosh. All right, so Fultondale at corner. I guess we're both going corner on that. Fultondale 1 and 3.
Corner is probably going to absolutely dominate and destroy. Maybe a little bit of a letdown after last week for corner. Don't know. I don't think the Yellow Jackets are going to have any issues, though.
This is a perfect follow-up opponent.
Right.
It's a non-region game. Fultondale was winless last year. They actually have a win this year.
They do.
But, yeah, that'd be a big upset if Fultondale pulled that off. What about Winterboro at Oakman?
Yeah, Winterboro's 1A. And
Yes.
Oakman is a 4-1 3A. Last year, Winterboro somehow won
know.
26-20. I don't know.
Shocking.
Oakman, I reckon, overlooked them, was looking ahead to facing Fayette County, then Gordo, then Winfield 3 weeks in a row. Oakman is probably going to win by massive proportions this week, don't you think?
That was a shocker last year.
This is revenge time.
Yeah. I mean, they get this game before they go into that gauntlet. So take care of business here. Be 5-1. Really good. We're both taking Oakman, I'm guessing, on that. And this is an interesting one. Vina 0-3 at Curry 0-5.
Yeah, Curry has not had a bye week yet. Vina's had 2. So maybe Curry's a little exhausted. I don't know. Curry's 4A, Vina's 1A, and has not won. I don't think Vina's won a game since 2019 or
That's right. The last time they won a game was a forfeit. I think they've lost 28 straight since that forfeit, or 25, something like that.
Yeah, a large number. Basically what Curry had before last season.
Yes.
I think Curry's going to win this game. Make it 2 in a row over Vina.
They really drilled them last year, and I think they'll win this. Yeah. It's going to be hopefully another team off the snide right there.
Yeah, I hope.
All right, so speaking of, here's Carbon Hill at home, 0-4 against Phil Campbell, 1-3.
Yeah, Phil Campbell. They should roll pretty dominantly. Carbon Hill's just looking for any opportunity to get a win, and I'm just not really seeing it on the schedule.
No, their schedule is really tough for a team that's trying to build a foundation here. So we're both going Phil Campbell on that. This is another weird game. Tarrant at Lynn.
Yeah, Tarrant 3A, 1-3. They had been very bad. Tarrant had, and now they're finally improving. But they get Lynn at Lynn. So do you think Tarrant can win with sheer numbers, or does Lynn dominate?
No, Lynn it'll be maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I see that happening.
Because Tarrant's win is against the team we're mentioning next year, Talladega County Central. That's their one win. Sumiton Christian 0-4 at Talladega County Central 0-4.
Yeah, if this game was at Sumiton, I could see picking the Eagles, but it's in
You're
Talladega.
not picking the Eagles?
No, I'm picking Talladega County Central because, for one, it's in Talladega, which is definitely a long bus ride for Sumiton Christian.
Go see the racetrack.
Yeah, they will. They'll be able to go way out in the
it's
woods and just very strange area. It's not you're almost like, goodness, how are we still in the state once you've driven all the way out there?
Talladega is a really strange county. Driving to Auburn, you go through it.
Yeah.
You're like, how in the world am I in the same county as a racetrack? But it's a big county.
It is.
But this is in the central of the county. See? Talladega County Central.
Right.
So I'm taking Sumiton Christian. This team has lost so many games in a row. I think it's kind of like a Vina. It's 20-something games. And I'm just going to – I know Sumiton Christian has scored 6 points this year.
Right.
Yes,
that was one of the reasons I picked Talladega County Central, because Talladega County Central has not been shut out this season. Sumiton Christian, they scored their first and only touchdown of the season last week.
I'm going to chalk that up to competition.
Yeah, I can. I can see that.
They have something right. Yeah. I mean, they have played Lynn, Hubertville, Pickens. It's been a really tough That is not the way you want to start a season.
No, and then, of course, you're pretty much beaten to a pulp by 3 really talented teams, and you get Brilliant, which is maybe a chance for a win, and 45-6, you get demolished. I just don't see someone in Christian winning this game.
They have 2 chances to win. I think they have Holy Spirit also. This will be, but I think they get this one. Okay. I hope so. I hope Coach Moon and that group gets a win. Last game is kind of an interesting one. Addison 3-2 at Good Hope 1-4. It's 1A against 4A.
Yeah, Good Hope not very good, but they do have a lot of hope against Addison just because sheer numbers. They're such a big team, and Addison's been beaten up the first part of the season. They've had a couple of tune-ups recently, so I'm gonna have to go with Good Hope here.
I did as well. They took Etowah to overtime, and I was thinking, would Etowah beat Addison? Maybe. Just a 4A, it's just hard to beat a 4A.
Yeah, just...
it's not a terrible 0 for 4A. It's a team that's going to win a few games. Good Hope's usually decent. This is actually a 1-4 is surprising for them. But, yeah, I'm also taking Good Hope there. Addison has some tough losses this year.
They do. This is going to be one of those seasons where the record, they're probably going to wind up 6-4, and it's just going to... I think next year, though, Addison's really going to get it going.
Yeah. They have a lot of kids that will be back. All right, let's go through our top 5. We kind of talked about this before. They might be identical.
Yeah, they may be identical.
Maybe. I'm going to change one just for so it won't be. I really can't. I don't know.
It's impossible. It stacks up perfectly. It's pretty much an obvious top 5. So
it's that obvious. All right, I'm gonna go Meek at number 5.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just they've got those 2 losses. They did beat Maplesville at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, now looking back,
you look back and you're like, huh? Because Meek has really struggled. Big letdown from last year. But Meek is not out of any playoff hunt. They're not out of any chance of making a long run. As long as they don't run into Pickens County again, I think Meek should be pretty fine.
Yeah, I do too. And they got a big game coming up this week. Next week, yeah. Addison. Okay, so we both went Dora at 4?
Yeah, Dora's 4. Really struggled offensively against Corner, and now they're down to 2 losses, Winfield and Corner. So, yeah, it's just not the way Dora envisioned this season going. Not the way a lot of people envision this season going. They're 4th. Not a bad team, but also they've had their share of struggles.
Yeah. Now, I picked Dora to go undefeated to start the year.
And I said they would go 6-4. They'll go somewhere in between.
I hope 8-2.
Yeah, 8-2.
But maybe I'm the problem because I always pick them and they end up losing.
You need to start picking against them. Yeah, you are rat poison.
There was an old show called The Incredible Hulk in the 70s and early 80s. And the guy would go into town and, get into trouble and the end of every episode, he was walking down the street out of the town because he was the problem. Right. I was like, well, that's kind of me. I'm the problem for Dora. So I need to start picking for them to lose. But I really don't see them losing. There I go again, right?
Oh, no.
I don't see them losing another game. I don't know. Hopefully they can come in second, or who knows? They could still be in first.
That's true. Last year they started the season 2-3 and won the region.
Yes.
Like you said they would.
Thought? Yes. So it is possible. They have the talent. It's just a matter of putting it together. Talk about our number 3 team.
Yeah, number 3's Oatman, I presume. Same, yeah. At the beginning of the season, like you mentioned earlier, they lose to Solent, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to go 4-6 this year, and it's not going to be good. And then they've completely turned it around. Of course, Solent, really good football team. Oatman is definitely a threat. Of course, in this region, there's not much they can do. Fayette County is kind of on a down year. Winfield is good, but not as good as they've been in the past. So Oatman, they're pretty much their only hope of really making a good playoff run is if they can somehow beat Fayette County and then get a hold of somewhat of a softer number 2 seed and then plow through the rest of the way.
No, they're going to come in second. They're going to beat Winfield.
Wow.
No, I will never say. Our teams have struggled so much against Winfield, it makes no sense. Yeah, we could have an undefeated team. Winfield have 3 wins and they beat them.
Yeah, that reminds me of 6-7 years ago when Cordova and Winfield had their roles reversed. Winfield was this struggling team. Cordova was the juggernaut. And Winfield dominated at home, and I'd never heard that Winfield was any good because before that they really weren't, at least in the past few years. That's really propelled them. And like you said, it's our area teams that they've really found their best luck against.
Yeah, and they play all of them, it seems like.
Yeah.
I think Dora beat them, but it's been a while.
Yeah, that was, yes.
Like 5 or 6 years ago.
They have 2-game win streak over Dora. They've been in the same region as Carbon Hill and Oatman for a while, and they've swept them, I think.
Yes. Whoever they play, it's just going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
All right, so I also have Oakman. Boy, I'm glad they're having a good year. They're well coached, really.
Very well coached.
If I notice that your team is well coached, that means they're well coached. Because I'm not usually noticing things like that. But, all right, who's our number 2?
Number 2 is probably going to be Lynn. They had that one loss earlier in the season. We're going to discount that and say that they're really good because they've improved. So, Lynn, I think, is going to make a playoff run if Pickens County doesn't get to them first.
That's going to be interesting at Pickens next week. Oh, my gosh. They beat them last year. That was probably the best game I saw last year. Went for, actually kicked the extra point to win it with no time left. All right, so I also have Lynn, number 2. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't see them going to jinx somebody else here. I don't see them losing another game. Well,
I see them.
Pickens is going to be tough.
Pickens is going to want revenge.
It's at Pickens.
I don't think they're going to win down there.
That's going to be tough. Yeah, I might pick Pickens in that one.
I think Lynn's going to wind up 8-2 to end the season, make a good playoff run, and everybody up in Lynn is happy.
Yeah. I mean, their loss was Alabama Christian 30-20, went all the way down there.
Which is a really good team. And if it weren't for Corner being so dominant recently, Lynn would be number 1 by far.
Yes. And I would have never thought at the start of the season, week 4, we'd have Corner at number 1. No way.
Yeah.
Number 1 logo, maybe them and Curry.
Yeah,
it's close. I like Curry's too.
Yeah, Curry's got a good logo.
But no, they're our best. They're our best team.
They are.
That's where we have them.
They are. I mean, I would say right now the runaway choice. I mean, you could argue that Lynn was outmatched in that one game and played well, but Corner, goodness gracious, 2 years in a row that they've started out hot like this. Now maybe they'll fade down the stretch. I really hope not.
Yeah, me too.
Corner is a really good football team.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just sound,
They're so unpredictable too. It seems like because you'll have some years where they're 2-8, 3-7, and then now they're 5-0 2 years straight.
Yeah, I mean, well, they got to beat Fultondale, but they'll probably be 5-0 going into some huge games in Northside and Haleyville. But let's get through Fultondale first. 5-0.
Fultondale can always be a threat.
Yeah, they have talent.
They do.
I actually went to that game last year, Fultondale. It's at Tarrant for some reason. All right, so okay, let's jump to college here. Boy, I don't want to talk about that Auburn game much, but so Alabama takes down Kiffin.
Right. Again.
Will he ever beat Saban?
I mean, I want to say there's no way he ever wins because he tries too hard to beat Saban. But this year he really looked like a mature coach against. I mean, he didn't do anything really dumb, like what he's done.
Going for it.
Like going for it on 4th down. He saw weakness in Alabama and he tried to exploit it, but then neither offensive line could do anything, and Alabama was able to dominate the second half. So, I mean, just asking me in a very biased way, I'm going to say there's no way he ever gets close again. But
will he ever coach against Saban again?
I think he will. I really do.
You think Saban will be around a couple more years?
I do. I think because when you're thinking when's next year, obviously not on the schedule.
I hate that.
Yeah, 2025, Ole Miss will most likely be on the schedule for Alabama. So I think Saban will still be coaching then.
I hate that Auburn and Alabama don't have them on the schedule. It really seems messed up. All right, so kind of last year, this is the worst Alabama team since, or maybe that was a couple weeks ago. So Auburn's offense is the worst since what?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah, last year Auburn's offense was not good either.
It's very similar.
Yeah, Auburn is...
but it was worse last year. I believe that.
Yeah, Auburn is struggling. And we say they're struggling. They have the same record as Alabama. But you lost to Texas A&M, who I will say they had an advantage because they did have 12 players on the field for that one return for Auburn. That was a touchdown.
I've never seen... So if you didn't see it, Auburn had their one touchdown was on defense because they can't score. And the guy returned it and had to run in between the sideline and Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, Jimbo
I've never seen a coach that far out on him.
He was.
How did he not leave the field the second he saw the play? Why is he even on the field? Period.
He said he was chewing somebody out. I don't know, but it just proves this: Texas A&M really does have a 12th man.
Yes. And they didn't really. They could have won probably with 11 or 10 out there.
They could have.
It was not.
Jimbo
Auburn's
should have made the
offense
tackle.
got 3 points.
Jimbo should have made that tackle.
Well, if he would have, Auburn wouldn't have scored. So they needed that one. I wonder what surely they would have given him a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was gone. So now is it all right? Is Auburn? Is that a quarterback problem?
No,
or
it's
offensive
coordinator, I think, by far, because Peyton Thorne, when he was at Michigan State, was excellent. I mean, almost immaculate 2 years ago. He's a really talented quarterback. Robbie Ashford also has some talent in there if you look hard enough. So this has got to be an offensive coordinator problem, because I know Auburn's got enough talent to look better than they did Saturday.
I think it's a line problem, but also you're not. I don't know what Peyton Thorne's what he's good at. You know, because I can't tell. I mean, with this
more
team,
of a pocket passer, to be honest.
I know what Ashford can do. He can, but I mean, shouldn't you be doing short passes if you can't do anything else? So the offense coordinator he's doing nothing. I've said I could call the same place from my couch for way less money and be just as effective.
Well,
I really believe that.
You could put up as many points against A&M as
as our offense. You run twice, you throw incomplete pass, and you punt. That's the plan. Yes. That's 2 years in a row, running the same offense.
That's the point of an offense, to get the ball in the field, the side of the field punter likes.
Yes. You want a 45-second drive that involves 3 plays and a punt. And they are very good at that. All right, so will Auburn make a bowl game?
Ooh.
You need 6. They've got 3.
I
think
see
3 wins on that schedule?
Yeah, Vanderbilt. They got a cupcake game.
I think it's New Mexico, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody like that.
But then you're thinking, who else? Arkansas? Well, I don't know.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi. That's who I'm thinking. Ooh. If Auburn's going to beat anybody else on the rest of the season.
If they win, it's going to be no matter what, a really close game.
It will.
Probably.
Last year, that Mississippi State game was a really close game as well. It was Cadillac's first game, wasn't it?
Overtime. But, yes, and they needed that to make a bowl game. They didn't need to make a bowl game last year, so that's fine. That was fine.
Going to say that Auburn makes a bowl. They may be playing in Birmingham.
Hey, I would take that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's close by. Only about an hour drive, so.
Yes. And they've been in it a couple times.
Yeah, they played Memphis
beat Memphis
5 years ago, wasn't it?
Wore them out.
In the rain, wasn't it?
That is correct, yes. And then they played, I've only been to 2 bowl games. It was both Auburn, it was Nashville and Birmingham, and they've won both of them. Yeah. Well, no, then I went back to Birmingham and they lost to Houston, so I forgot about that one. That was
2 years ago when they lost in 4 overtimes to Alabama, then they go to Houston. No, they play in the Birmingham Bowl. Houston, yeah. And they finished the season with 5 straight losses, and that just...
Parents got COVID. It was a bad day.
Yeah, that was Harson's... that was his goodbye.
Yeah, and that was a miserable offense as well. I think it was like 13-10.
Yeah, it was a ugly. It was one of the most painful games you could have watched.
It has been really hard to watch Auburn football. If you want to see points, don't watch it.
Well, we may be seeing a lot of points next week. Next week, Auburn may have a lot of points, except on the other side.
Talking about Georgia this week?
Yeah, maybe Georgia scoring all the points, but you'll see points.
Yes. All right, so we'll go to Zach's picks. Is that one of them?
Yeah, that's
Georgia.
Yeah, we're going to save that
for... At Auburn. So,
hey, crazy things happen at Jordan-Hare Stadium. I've been there twice, and I know it's a very tough place to win a ball game. It doesn't matter if Auburn's 0-11 and you're 11-0. If you go to Jordan-Hare, Auburn's going to have a decent chance.
That's only for Bama. Georgia's bad.
Well, I will say 2017 now, Georgia did get trashed.
That's right. Yeah, that was a good team. This team is not.
Yeah, that's true. They had Jarrett Stidham at quarterback back then.
I would take him back.
I'd take him over Milroe at Alabama.
Yes, I would take Milroe. So there you go. You'd have Stidham. Auburn have Milroe.
I'll take that. I could live with that. All right, so I'm going to start with maybe a couple of sneaky, interesting games. How about Clemson at Syracuse up in the strange little dome in upstate New York that a few people know exists? Syracuse has always had its way with Clemson, but it seems like they can hardly ever beat them because, it's always a close game, big time struggles. And then Clemson finds a way to win. This year, does Syracuse beat the Tigers for the first time since 2017?
Wow. No.
Really?
Clemson puts it. I mean, they really should have won last week.
They should have.
They're just going to put it together. They're better. I mean, Syracuse, yes, is off to a good start.
You think about a team that's won 2 championships in the past 7 years. Dabo was at one point the second best coach in the country by far.
The next Alabama coach at that point.
That was his goal, was to get back to Alabama. Now it's all fallen through. They're 2-2. They are not making the playoffs unless absolute madness breaks out the rest of the season. I mean, technically, but
are you taking Syracuse in this game?
I'm going to take Syracuse. I think Clemson's got nothing to play for.
Well, this will be terrible.
Cade Klubnik is like, what am I doing? I'm getting beat up every week. We're not winning. Why am I even here? Clemson loses faith in itself, and it's a terrible disaster. And after this week, they want Dabo Swinney fired.
Wow. And where's their old quarterback at? Oregon State, right?
DJ.
And who would ever think Oregon State would be better than Clemson?
They are. They're ranked. They've been ranked higher almost the entire season.
They have no conference to go to, but they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, last week we had that Pac-2 championship between Washington State and Oregon State.
Two teams that have nowhere to go.
Yeah, speaking of Oregon State, I wasn't going to put this on the picks, but it's kind of an interesting game. Mm-hmm. They're hosting Utah this week.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, I think Utah's going to win.
I'm taking Oregon State.
Really?
It's hard to go against the home team in these spots. And Utah State still doesn't have the quarterback.
Yeah,
back.
That's true. But
they won last week.
Yeah, they haven't needed him. They're still undefeated.
They're really good. They're a well-coached team, too.
Yeah, they're in the top 10. I think Utah's going to win that game. All right, moving on to an SEC matchup. Florida is ranked 23rd. The team they demolished, Tennessee, is ranked 22nd, which is just kind of weird that Florida's still behind them. Florida does not have Tennessee. They've already played. They have Kentucky. Remember, Kentucky had that 33-year losing streak, wasn't it? And they broke it.
They had so many times before that where they should have won, but they finally got over it.
And do they get over them again? Does Kentucky at home beat Florida?
Yes.
Really? Okay, I agree with you, actually. Kentucky's a favorite against a ranked team at home.
And Florida, look at their Charlotte score last week.
22-7?
That's the real Florida, not this Florida that beat Tennessee. It's somewhere in between.
Because anybody can beat Tennessee on any given day.
I couldn't believe it.
South Carolina last year, that South Carolina team had no business beating Tennessee.
Won by about 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Tennessee, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, just like I loved every minute of that Florida-Tennessee game last week. 2 weeks ago, actually. So you say Florida loses. I say Florida loses as well. Kentucky's undefeated at 5-0. Do you think they crack the rankings next week with a win?
Yes, because Missouri even got
They are ranked, which is
They have
weird.
some good wins. I mean, that Kansas State was a good win. Memphis was a decent win.
Yeah, Memphis is a good team. All right, off to another game, somewhat of an interesting game. LSU at Ole Miss. They're both 3-1. LSU really struggled last week. Bad clock management by Arkansas won them the game, basically, last week in the battle for the Golden Boot, which is probably the best trophy in all of college football. I got to say, I love it. At Ole Miss, does something special happen in Vaught Hemingway and Ole Miss rebound, or does LSU continue to roll?
I say LSU gets this. They didn't play. They were lucky to win. They shouldn't have won last week. You know, you never can tell what they're going to do. Yeah. I blame Les Miles. The ghost of Les Miles is messing with them.
He's still, or maybe the ghost of Ed Orgeron, or
the
ghost of Nick Saban, who they allowed to go off and join the NFL. And
that really breaks your heart. I know.
Yeah, I know. It was such a shame. So is Brian Kelly the best coach LSU's had in the past 20 years? I mean, at LSU, not what they did when they left or something like that. But
I really think he is, yeah.
So you're saying he's better than the Saban in 03?
No, after Saban.
Okay,
Saban, yeah. Obviously, Saban's the best coach.
Even though both Miles and Orgeron won a national championship.
I can't believe Les Miles won a championship.
They
lost to Kentucky and Arkansas that year, both in triple overtime. But that was good enough. That's the only 2-loss champion.
You can lose 2 losses. You can have a 2-loss season in the BCS area where only 2 teams make the postseason, but you can't make it in the 14 playoff at 2 losses.
That's a good point. Well, it was a crazy year, apparently.
That's true.
It must have been.
Yeah, it's 2007, which was the wildest year in the history of college football, some people say. All right, so we both have LSU, I'm assuming.
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to step back into our 2 local college teams, Georgia at Auburn. I know that you're down on Auburn because you're somewhat of a pessimist. Does Auburn have a chance? Any chance?
No. They don't play Georgia. When Georgia was bad in like the 90s, they couldn't beat them. And they were way better than them. So this used to be, like, if you go look, it was like so neck and neck. And now Georgia's like up 10. You know, so I mean, I don't like playing Georgia. I wish they were off schedule.
Well,
I don't care about this 150-year rivalry.
Yeah,
get them off the schedule.
That's true. They may be
Ball
off the schedule.
State in that spot.
Yeah.
Win.
You can do who did Georgia take? Was that Ball State Georgia got to replace him? Was it UAB or?
Oh, UAB last week, yeah.
Somebody Georgia put on the schedule to replace an Oklahoma team that
It might have been
played.
UAB.
It may have been, or it could have been Ball State. Like
So
you mentioned.
all right, Georgia beat UAB last week. UAB scored 21 points.
They
Will
did.
Auburn get that? There's no way, right?
UAB's got
Unless they get 3 defensive touchdowns or a couple fumbles, something.
I mean, I want to say UAB's got a better offense than Auburn. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Georgia was just kind of sleepwalking.
Yeah, that was. I mean,
And when you can beat a team from the American Conference 49-21 in one of your sleepwalk games, that's not bad.
yeah, they finally put
They
it
did.
on them when they had to. I mean, yeah, it's Georgia, so
So-
they'll be up for this game, which is that's not good.
Yeah, so we both got Georgia, obviously. What do you think the final score is going to be?
Probably 38-7, something like that.
I see that. Georgia's not going to score a whole lot. Auburn's not going to score barely anything.
Auburn's defense is really good, but the offense is hurting the defense too. They're always on the field. They just can't get off the field. The field position is terrible. The whole thing. Offense is messing up the entire team, which can happen.
Yeah, you're right. You're very right. Speaking of struggling offenses, Mississippi State.
Ugh.
Mike Leach dies tragically, and Zach Arnett comes in and he says, I'm not going to do anything like Leach did. I'm going to completely overhaul the entire system and get some boring, unexciting offense where our school's career passing leader can't throw for 100 yards a game. Does Mississippi State have a chance against Alabama this week? It's at 8 p.m. in the land of the Cowbells.
Oh, I've gone to one game there. I can't stand that.
I don't know. The
I
Cowbells
can't
weren't.
stand it.
2 years ago, I went for the Alabama.
So you've
Mississippi
been there
State.
too?
I've been there. Cowbells weren't that bad.
Well, when you're getting slaughtered,
Yeah, it's
nobody's
true. When it's
ringing.
49-9,
And the game I went to was actually a blowout. If you can believe that, Auburn blew them out.
What
Kerryon
year is
Johnson.
this? Well, that's
5 years
17.
ago.
If it's
it was 17. It's a good year.
Yeah.
So
good year for
but
both Alabama and Auburn
That was a fun
and
year.
Georgia.
Wish it was 17 again. But Mississippi State, yeah, they changed everything for the worse. Yeah, I mean, at least they were throwing the ball around, having some fun.
Yeah.
Now it's like Auburn's offense.
Yeah, they used to be entertaining,
Yes.
and Alabama's offense used to be entertaining, which they're not anymore either.
I think a couple of touchdowns will put this game away.
I do too.
Yeah,
So
it
you're
won't take much.
do
It'll
you
probably be. Oh, it's going to be bad.
What do you think the final score is going to be?
42-14.
Okay, I don't think Mississippi State's going to put up that much. I think it's
Oh,
going to be
42-3.
something like 31-0. Shutout. I'm seeing shutout or maybe a Mississippi State field goal if they get
I
lucky.
just hate it so late. It's
Yeah.
a really, really late
Yeah,
start.
you'll be up to
They don't want people to
midnight.
watch this. That's all it is to
It's
it.
like, look, it's going to be terrible. Please don't stay up and watch.
Hopefully,
this.
it's better than the Auburn Cal game that was so late. That was unwatchable, just about.
But it was a good game at least.
They won, so I'll take that.
All right, that's all I got for us.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. If you like what you see, like and subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate that. And thanks for Jake for producing, Bevill State for sponsoring, and we'll see you next week.
Bevill State
is your community college.
for convenient and affordable academic transfer options.
Rewarding health science programs. High wage, high demand career tech training.
Your story starts at Bevill State.